All right, yeah, you're good to go, Elijah.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name's Elijah Heilmon. I'm here to present on the ISTS CTF challenges, at least the ones me and my team did. I am not with you there in person just because I didn't realize I scheduled a class from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock on Fridays. SIS forgot to mention that. So let's get started. So, one of the challenges that my team and I completed that I had a lot of fun with was the Chinese writing one. This was a basic cryptography challenge, and with the prompt, as you can see, just say talking about the 8 tau symbols and mentioning Japanese kanji. The reason for this is the ISTS theme this year was like cyberpunk, so it had a heavy Japanese thematics for it, so they had to mention the kanji. But the symbols below weren't exactly kanji, so we went ahead and did our research and found out it was something called, and forgive me for butchering the name, bagua, I think, or trigrams. So the kanji thing, I think, was slightly unrelated to the actual challenge, other than just trying to fit the theme. And so, since it's an actual language, we went ahead and looked it up, and we found this little chart here. So nice, talking about the different elements that you would find in nature and their proportions of the yin and yang, represented by the solid and broken lines. Now, this got me thinking. This got me thinking that uh, this may have to do with like using just a known language to actually encode something, like the Navajo code talkers from World War II. So we went ahead and did some research, and we found we were right. So at the top of the screen, you can see the text file they gave us for the challenge, which led us to the Bagua. And so, as you can see here, this is the site we found. Of course, there is a Ruby module, I think it's called, for this or function. However, I did not have Ruby during the middle of ISTS. I was not trying to install it. So I just went ahead and did it by hand. And I found that, as you can see here, the solid lines represent zeros and broken lines represent one. And you start at the bottom. So if the bottom line's a solid line, you start with zero, yada yada yada. Uh, so then I used this and replaced all the symbols uh, accordingly. And so, like for the first one, this first set of symbols here, is everything all good on there? Hello? Yeah, I can hear you. What's going on? All right. Yeah. How long ago did you lose me exactly? how far back did you guys lose me with this? Yeah, I can hear you. Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure. Should I just continue now or good to go? All right. I'll get started again. So, as I was saying, I had to do this by hand. So what I realized is like this first symbol here. Try not to hover over the text the thing too long because otherwise it acts weird. That first one here is actually 011. And so then I went through and replaced all those symbols like that with 011, and I repeated this for each individual, not individual, each unique symbol. And then we ended up with this. Now, for those of you who for you guys all obviously know, a byte is 8 bits. And so looking at this and knowing it's binary, I knew I had to divide it up into segments of 8, and then we ran into a little problem. Down here, this last segment has 10 bits, and that doesn't work right, and the last two are zeros, which I then learned apparently when doing this when using this to encode, you have to do it in segments of 3. So if there's not enough of not enough ones and zeros and not enough bits, it pads on extra zeros. So just had to chop that off, and then I realized it was time. Now, I don't know what the rest of you use, but whenever we go to, for whenever I had to do encoding or encrypting or decrypting, decoding, I always head over to CyberChef. So I realized it was time to get cooking. So again, simple binary decryption, decoding. Sorry, I might be getting the wrong term. I always mix them up. I threw it in there from binary 8, like again, length of 8, and then ended up with this little string. Now that we had it in actual characters, it was a step forward, but we didn't really know what to do with it after that. So we just kept on trying stuff, looking around, seeing what we could find. And then we realized it had to be Rot 13. My one teammate, who was our team's MVP, Koth champion, shout out to you, man. Good. Yeah. She figured out that it was actually Rot 13 because Rot 13 is actually pretty common with cryptography CTFs. So she tested that, and using the same input, voila, we got the flag. And so after doing a little bit of magic, replacing some of the symbols so it's actually in the correct format, we get the entire flag. The next challenge that we also had a lot of fun with was guessing game. Now, this was a binary exploitation challenge. We got a special VM, which had all the challenges in it. This one was the easy one, as it was denoted in the actual VM. And this was the prompt we got. And as you can guess, it was an actual guess game. But of course, we got to figure out what we're dealing with. So I looked in the challenge folder, and we realized we had an executable script, which we couldn't read. And then we had this C program, which we were allowed to read, labeled redacted. And so we took a look at it, and again, this was readable for everybody else, whereas the other one only had the X's, which means it was only executable. So we went ahead and read this one. I hate when I do that. Again, so we just had to look through it. The comment mentioned there's 2 vulnerabilities, so we just kind of went looking. Now, whenever I have to do a binary exploitation, I always kind of think buffer overflow right away. So I kind of started looking for signs for that. And then these are the 3 things I noticed. Now, fgetch usually helps in this little box down here. Fgetch usually helps against buffer overflow, but if you do it correctly. As you can see here, which I forgot to highlight, dang, I gotta stop doing that. The char input has a size of 2. However, gets and takes in 20 characters. So we decided we gotta we're gonna have to manipulate that. And then we noticed it's being inputted, converted from a string to an integer, an unsigned integer specifically for the guess num. And so we decided, okay, what can we do with that? We got to do some research, like with all these CTS. Apparently, my animations decided not to work on this slide, but we figured out that the maximum size for an unsigned integer, which means it's only going to be positive, is about 10 digits long. And so we just inserted 11 digits. And voila, we got our current high score to 2607. Now, realizing this in hindsight, I forgot to point out on the other slide, to actually get the flag, we had to bring the score to 1337. I'll just go back and show you. As you can see right here in the if statement, high score has to equal 1337 before it prints the flag. And so, because we decided to brute force it the whole way, we just kind of just held down the enter, and it went down by 1 point every time we got a question wrong until we got to 1337. And as Tom Hanks is pointing out, it took us for freaking ever, just sitting there holding down the enter key. But we finally got there, and we got the flag. As you can notice here from the screenshot I grabbed, I actually went past it because I'm not gonna lie, it was just taking for a long time and I just lost track. What was actually really annoying was the fact that randomly when I was holding down enter, apparently I would get the guess correct and I would get 5 points. And so then I had to guess 5 more times to get that down. So it took a while. But voila, there's the flag. And those are the only ones I wanted to present on because while we did solve other ones, these were the two that I had more knowledge of and participated more in. And I was just more comfortable talking about. But if there's any questions about what I presented on, will I be making a CTF challenge? I think that'd be a conflict of interest because I think I'm planning on participating in the RIT CTF with my ISTS team. So, I mean, I could make a challenge, but that'd be an easy one for us to get. But I'm more the type of person who likes solving these challenges than creating them, to be completely honest. Though if I did put in enough time and effort, I could probably create one. I mean, as any of you could too. Any other questions? Trying to keep an eye on the Twitch chat and not seeing anything going once, going twice. All right. Thank you guys for having me and let me present on this. It's been a blast. Peace out.